Welcome. Good morning, everyone. So we're first now. I'm not gonna make any. It's great to be here. My name's Dan Beranek. I'm the Director of Global Digital Marketing at Starbucks. I'm super excited to be here today. That the topic of our discussion is going to be beyond the big idea. To me, what that means is that we're in a place in the marketing industry, the digital marketing world, where we can move beyond just speaking to everyone the same way. We can start to really be personal and connected with people. And the great thing about my job is I get to do that at Starbucks, which I think is probably the best brand to be able to start to do that, and maybe even to teach others a little bit about it as well.
Can we flip over to our slides? We actually brought slides.
Oh, sorry.
To show, yeah. Look at that. Cool Starbucks in Japan. So thanks again for being here. We're super excited.
Do you see it?
I'm Ryan Turner. I lead social media and digital creative for Starbucks. Joined Starbucks about a year ago after a decade on the agency side. And it wasn't long ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I would have said that I would probably never have a corporate job because I felt like the creativity and innovation was happening elsewhere. And so I hope you emerge from this presentation with as clear a sense as I have of how wrong I was about that. We should start the presentation like, I was super dumb. And wanted to show you a little bit about why. So I want to start with a story about a tweet we did. 1,500 retweets, 272 favorites. It's like pretty big numbers, right, for a smiley face emoticon. The thing people don't know about this tweet that I'll share with you is that we did it by accident. It was a mistake. We were onboarding a new social CMS platform, a publishing tool to control how we push out to our channels, and going through like our training session on a conference call, and everybody's testing out the tool, and one of our community managers accidentally tweeted a smiley face, and we kind of went, oops, there are famous worse examples of accidental tweets to corporate accounts. That one wasn't too bad. But the amazing thing is that people started replying like, this is exactly what I love about Starbucks. They're so human and so authentic and genuine and real. And then the digital marketing industry started to chime in with like, genius Starbucks digital marketers, do it again. Turn the whole thing on its head. And we're like, oops. So the thing to me that's interesting about that is that we really did stumble on something there. And the lesson for me out of this tweet is that we gave people with that tweet exactly what they come to Starbucks for. That's really different than what they want out of some other brands. That it's that momentary smile, like just the quick connection, the eye contact of the barista as she hands you your beverage over the counter. That's exactly what people value about the Starbucks experience and why they connect with us online.
Hello. So let's talk a little bit about how Starbucks is unique and what got us that scale, what let us achieve that level of brand love. First of all, so like I said, we're unique. Starbucks is everywhere, as you well know. We've got a retail footprint, thousands of stores in the US and across the globe. We've got a presence in grocery stores across the world as well. And we sometimes have retail stores in grocery stores. We connect with customers when they're shopping. We connect with them before they go to work, at lunch. We connect with customers all the time. We're part of the routine, but what's really interesting and what allows us to have the kind of moments that Ryan just described is this direct emotional engagement that we have. First of all, in our retail stores, when you walk in and you see your barista and they know your name and they know what you drink, that connection and the routine of that is really important. The other part of the direct emotional connection that we have is really through digital, through social. And they're really they're not that different. The way that we connect with people at scale, the way that we drive those relationships and build relationships over time in really small ways that add value to people's lives, that's all a part of our presence across the world. We think about that, just cutting out, sorry. We think about that in terms of being a networked brand. Is this one better? All right. So a networked brand, it's kind of a strange statement, but what we mean by that is that Starbucks has a presence in people's lives we are a network. All of those different touch points that we have, whether it's our stores, our customers, your mobile payment transaction, wherever you come into contact with our brand, the sum of the whole of all of those touch points is greater than its parts, which allows us to have basically a networked effect. But that's just the mechanics of it. What it really means is that we elevate everyday moments every day.
And maybe amazingly, it works, and people are telling us they want this from us, and connecting in really large numbers. I mean, if you look at like sort of our our like ego slide, it's 53 million global fans on Facebook across about 40 or so Facebook pages. We reach 99% of Facebook through friends of fans. So it's a lot, right? 3 million Twitter followers we just hit this morning or last night. 20,000 followers on Pinterest, where we joined really recently and have been among the fastest growing brands on that new platform. Instagram, we're starting to push toward 1 million followers, and Google Plus, well over 500,000 people engaging with us there. Not up here is one of my favorites, which is the My Starbucks Idea platform, where we have 500,000 users who generated, pushing 250 business ideas that we've implemented in our stores in the Starbucks experience. So it's been a platform where loyalists are, approaching the 5-year anniversary of this platform, continuing to generate ideas, and the business is responding and adopting, doing obviously the smart things like saying when we're not going to do something and why, responding with the ways we've implemented ideas. So really exciting stuff. But if you think about the 53 million number, like, that's a lot. It's like a lot of people. And so for some context, it's more Facebook fans than the most powerful man in the world. It's more than the President of the United States. Thank you. It's more than double the combined total of some of the most aspirational brands on earth, right? So there's something that we're doing, and I think that accidental smile is part of it that people are valuing in large numbers, which gives us a different kind of opportunity and a different kind of challenge.
So again, you get all the funny slides. I'm going to get all the mechanical
That's because I'm funny.
You are funny. We wanted to talk a little bit about how to get beyond the big idea, and a key part of that is our team and the way that we're structured. And so we have really four critical roles that we use within our team. The first of those is insights. So how we develop insights that feed the rest of the process. Insights are gathered and collected using social listening and monitoring. We use data and analytics in all their forms, and when we really need it, we used research. Those things are all collected, inform our process for planning and how we go to market across paid media, owned media, and earned media, which we all understand at this point. But importantly for us, we have a fourth channel, which is our baristas. And more, our baristas and our partners across the globe are connecting with us in a way that's very meaningful, but also in a way that's real time. So we've got 4 channels as opposed to just 3. Talk about.
Was I going to say something on this one?
Yeah,
oh.
You want to talk creative and game.
Oh, right. So community management and creative are aligned in our organization as well, which has been a really deliberate choice to infuse what we're doing in social channels on a day-to-day basis with some of the, the creative energy that drives our brand experience. And so we really look at community management as, a real-time version of creative, and a kind of creative that gets executed in conversations and day-to-day posts that really flies under the radar of a lot of brands.
So all of those functions really serve a purpose of helping us achieve resonance. We develop campaigns and content and conversation, all for the purpose of resonating with our customers, being more personal and being connected with them. We connect in a lot of different ways. We're relevant in a lot of different ways. We may speak to customers and start conversations on the basis of the weather pattern. Sorry. Bad timing on that. Basis of the weather pattern could be need states.
That's why I got the funny slides. Yeah.
Customer need states. When and why are people thinking about a trip to Starbucks or purchasing Starbucks somewhere else? How are they thinking about connecting with someone else that they know around over Starbucks? And then reach. We have to have scale. You can't have resonance without both of those things. So maybe a simpler way of saying this, and probably the theme of our talk today, is how do we connect at scale? We can today. We can through Starbucks for sure. And this idea of connecting at scale is really born out of our mission statement, which is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. It's kind of cliche probably to take down a mission statement directly, but we can almost directly. What that does is it guides us. It helps us to create moments of connection with our customers. It helps us to connect with them at scale. So as I mentioned, we do this in 3 ways, through campaigns, content, and conversation. And we're going to go through some examples now of how we do each of those, starting with campaigns. This past Valentine's Day, our insight was that we see that people connect around Valentine's Day in the sort of the romantic love sense, but that's a cliche, and we thought that we might have a chance to elevate what Valentine's Day actually meant and just start to speak about every love.
Valentine's Day, for my money, is the worst holiday there is. It's like, maybe this is just me, but it's just built on cliches, and it's all about this imaginary thing. And so we look at that as a brand and we say, Valentine's is about love, Starbucks is about love. There's got to be some kind of like synchronicity that we can capture within that. And so we wanted to do some storytelling around this broader idea of what Valentine's Day might mean, broader than romantic love. But it's really hard to do that in a way that feels genuine and authentic, right? Because the problem with authenticity is you can't make it up. And so instead we found a real story and simply shed some light on it.
I met Dan Dewey. He would come in every Thursday at the same time, about 10:30, and he would order about 14 to 20 drinks. That's a lot of drinks. What are you doing? He says, well, I bring them over to Michigan Cancer Institute.
What would you like today? What sounds good, hot or cold? That's our choices. Hot. We've narrowed it down.
I'll go with a hot tea today, just
Ooh.
a regular tea.
And you, sir?
Hot chocolate's fine for me.
Father went to the hospital. I says, do you want a coffee? When there's people sitting beside him, I says, he's buying. I got his wallet. So then anybody that was sitting there would get a free whatever they wanted. I bring it back to him. So it just started like that. I asked him, should I keep going? People enjoy this. And he goes, yeah, go ahead. Those 3 words that I'll remember forever.
Calling him Dan the man. Not only does he bring coffee, he's doing it out of his heart because what he's doing is just trying to make a difference.
He's now an official caregiver. He's giving coffee. He's Lisa's a caregiver, I'm a caregiver. Dan is a volunteer caregiver.
He's a special person. He was put here for a reason.
Not so much as what he does, but just the way he tries to cheer everybody up when he's here.
All right. We're in business now.
When I came to meet the doctor and the staff, they said, you're going to love coming on Thursdays. It's like, now why would a chemo patient be happy about coming on Thursday? I soon found out it was because of Dan.
Every week they say, but what do you get out of it? I says, I get a lot out of it. Because all these people really enjoy it. And they enjoy some goofball that wears shorts in the winter.
I did have a reaction on my second chemotherapy day, and Dan had gone out to get the coffee, and when he came back, he brought me a rose. And that was really, really, really special.
What touches me is the reaction in each person, to make them smile. People without hope come in here for hope. I'll do it with my last breath and my last dollar.
Dan's still in action, so if you want to go help Dan out, we recommend it. The next example we'll run through here is around the holiday season last year. Our red holiday cups, coming soon, are a sign of the start of the holiday season, like it or not. And our social listening revealed that the level of excitement that those cups generated was really an important thing. Like, it signaled to so many people that the holidays were here, in a really good way.
So we wanted to figure out a way to extend that enthusiastic response the red cups get into digital space. The challenge there is, like, how do you get digital to all the places the red cup goes? So mobile, right, is the only way to do it. So we took a playful approach to extending some of the stuff people find fun about the cups. fun stuff.
Well, it's not always about product, and if you know Starbucks, you know that we stand for a lot more than just great coffee. Sometimes what really matters is what we stand for as a brand, and we have that role in society of connecting people. So how do we pay that off?
So around the election in 2004, we saw a more deeply divided United States than we've ever seen before. Starbucks said, we've got a traditional place in society and in communities as the gathering point, and the place where people with differing viewpoints come together and talk about stuff. Is there something we can do, that's appropriate for us and our place in the world? This is, we're about coffee, but we're also about communities coming together, and so gave away free coffees on Election Day. Here's the ad.
Sorry, no video on this one, but please vote.
Oh, we're not playing that video?
We don't have. We're going to play this one, but we don't have.
Oh, okay.
Election video.
It's not that good.
So the next thing we'll talk about, when it is about product, we often see passion. We talked about the red cups and the signal of the holiday season in the very same way, and potentially even a bigger way. Pumpkin spice latte is a signal, a harbinger of the fall season. We see people engage very passionately around pumpkin spice latte.
Passionately is an understatement for pumpkin spice latte. People go like startlingly nuts about the return of pumpkin spice latte every year. So we kind of said, like, okay, that wants to be funny. Can we make it funny without making fun of people? And here's what we ended up with.
PSL Days is our unique festival. I mean, it only happens here. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. And it starts right when the pumpkin spice latte is released.
You should definitely check it out tomorrow night because we're having a pageant and I'm in it and I'm so excited. It's a cinnamon stick baton. You could throw a little bit.
Chrissy, stop!
I'll tell you, this town looks forward to PSL Days. And everyone finds some way to contribute to our celebration. Some people get a little bit out of control, but everyone in this town gets excited.
This is my quilt, and this is my husband's hand.
We have what we call the Sweet PSL pageant, and some of the girls get involved in that.
This is the dress for the pageant. My mom and my aunt made it.
People dress up. I mean, people go crazy. All the women gather at the hair salon, all the mothers and daughters, and they dye their hair orange.
Patty, you have to. Patty. Yep, there's your stem. Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? Okay. I'll do it. Don't touch your hair. Okay.
This is the first pumpkin spice latte of the year. 20? Thank you. Now 25. How about a 30 bit of time? Give me that 30.
Well, every year somebody asks me why the pumpkin spice latte and not some other beverage.
40 last call. Sold right here.
And I always tell them, you should see my wife when she hasn't had her morning cup of coffee. She's like, and then during PSL days, it's like double. It's like, it's like a dinosaur.
So pumpkin spice latte is available now. Get it while you can. It's super hot. Another thing to note about pumpkin spice latte is that the last 2 years in a row, we built a Facebook game built around the idea that everyone wants pumpkin spice latte first. We see, again, from a research perspective and listening perspective, we see that people are rabid. They want to be in the store the day that it's available. So we built a game that allows towns across the country to vote to be the first one to get pumpkin spice latte in their town. And this past year, Leavenworth, Washington, happened to win. I've not been to Leavenworth. I'm told it's beautiful. It's
quaint.
Quaint. They have one Starbucks, I think one Starbucks. Yeah. So, again, it's about moments of connection. New York didn't win. Leavenworth won. We're really about connecting people and even playing field. The next example of a campaign that we have is around really a Frappuccino campaign, but Frappuccino in this campaign was not front and center. We know that our Frappuccino fans are already engaged at scale, if you will. And so we sought a way to connect them and to ramp up their level of engagement around that product.
From its inception 40 years ago, a big part of the Starbucks brand has been about creating connections and engaging with people in store. Today, that engagement has carried over into the digital space, with Starbucks amassing millions of fans and followers. So the question became, how can Starbucks keep those people engaged in a fun new way? We created Search, a 2-week social scavenger hunt that had players following clue trails filled with cerebral puzzles, cryptic messages, and digital clues. And we enlisted another social media powerhouse to help.
Welcome to SRCH, Little Monsters.
It started with a mysterious QR code that appeared in 7,000 Starbucks locations. When scanned, it led to the search site that featured the starting point for 7 different rounds. The first players to finish each round won great prizes. For example, the first round kicked off with Lady Gaga singing her hit song, Born This Way, and revealing a Shazam logo. Shazam that song and you received a message that read, to find your next clue, find the right lyrics at SRCH. That directed players to the Search Twitter feed, where there was a tweet containing lyrics to Born This Way and a twit pic of the Starbucks.com homepage. Lady Gaga was written in the search field in the picture. That clue led players to the Starbucks.com site to search for Lady Gaga. One of the search results was a blog post containing the search card. And that was the easy round. The first 1,000 players to click on the card won a $10 Starbucks e-gift. With each round came increasingly difficult challenges and clue trails that had players jumping from social media channels to Starbucks and Lady Gaga properties to third-party partner sites. They were solving riddles, puzzles, codes, sending emails, making calls using mysterious phone numbers, and more. It all culminated in the 7th and final round that made the first round seem like a cakewalk. Search reached an astonishing level of engagement that had players chomping at the bit as each new round approached. They formed teams online to share ideas as they tried to quickly solve clues. They even planned their days around when new rounds were set to be released. And while Search was created with Starbucks fans in mind, they weren't the only ones that took notice. In the end, Search exceeded all expectations. With an average of 20 minutes of positive interaction per person per round, and a record number of online mentions, it created a level of engagement rarely achieved without a paid endorsement or paid media. Simply put, Search was a fun, unexpected digital experience that moved thousands of people from simply being fans to being super fans.
I'd argue that those people were already super fans, and that, you know, for all the value of the kind of momentary touch points we have with people across all our channels, there are some people who want to engage more deeply. And 20 minutes of interaction to participate in a contest is really quite amazing. There are constituents out there for us who are like that, who are looking for those kinds of activities to do with us. And, you know, for me, that's my favorite example of a contest, because so often contests are just this mechanical exercise of like enter and get a thing. But this is really just about having fun and participating. And there were prizes, but it was really intrinsic value of participation and the enjoyment of being part of it that made it go. So we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, we've got kind of like covered some of our big campaigns of the last few years. I want to talk a little bit about that second tier of creative product, content. This is the stuff that we're producing and publishing out to our channels on a day-to-day basis. One of the things that is sort of like one of the key qualities of our social content is that it's made by hand, it's handcrafted. And so we use a lot of felt tip markers more than we use a lot of Photoshop. And here are a couple examples. There's a couple more on the next slide of stuff we make that's really meant to kind of echo that same sort of personalized, human-touched experience. That's a key quality of our brand. And handcrafted extends beyond, like, you know, the ink drawings on paper motif as well. I don't know how well you can see it, but the ice cube and the iced coffee there is in the shape of a heart. You know, these ice cream sandwiches were made by one of our community managers, like some evening. You know, the assignment is like show ice cream. You know, we figured out a way to make the ice cream into a thing that makes it feel right and hand-touched and personal on our social channels. We do stuff like that a lot. It's also a matter of, you know, showing the product in a way you haven't seen it before. It's really important for us. We also tell little stories, and the idea, you know, in a social post is you've got one little moment to convey a situation or a scenario or a narrative. Can you capture that in medias res moment that conveys the richness of the emotional landscape of the story as a whole? So here are a couple of many of our favorite examples. The one on the right is our most successful Facebook post of all time, if you can imagine that, right? Just capturing this moment of fall is just here, and you're excited about it. First time I described this post, I said it was a hand-knit sweater, and I practically got a beat down because it's a scarf. not a sweater. We have super mean community managers. But that's not a typo on the bottom there. That's 35 million in reach. And sometimes the assignment is to communicate an offer, a deal, right? So here we've got a buy two, get one deal for Frappuccino, which for us is a thing we hate to do in our social channels, is come out with like a mechanical sort of, extrinsic offer. So we took it in another direction and made it about friendship and tried to generate energy and conversation around this BFF hashtag, very, very appropriate for the younger skewing Frappuccino audience, and really about connection in the same way that our brand is all about promising that. Great stuff. And sometimes it's just a pure brand gesture, right? The one on the left here is an excerpt from our Pinterest page that we published over to Facebook. And it says, do more of what makes you happy, which is the kind of gesture a brand like Starbucks has to do. It's not a matter of like, can we get away with that? It's a matter of what are people looking for from us, and how can we deliver that in a way that is meaningful, and the response speaks for itself there. And the end of summer, is another great moment of transition in people's lives, and just a beautiful moment. If you haven't said farewell to summer yet, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this morning, you're too late. This is one of my favorite examples of some of our community management creative work. We gave away free coffee this year on the 4th of July around a program with a theme of civic engagement. And we knew that when we announced free coffee on Twitter, Twitter would kind of surge around that. What we wanted to do is to ensure that the theme of civic engagement wasn't lost in all the buzz around the free coffee. So we asked ourselves, how do we attach the theme of the program to the free coffee? And we decided let's do that literally, with a hashtag written on the cup in the same way names are written on our cup, in the same felt tip style. And it's not like a fantastic photo. You could nitpick it, but I think as an idea and as a concept for a social post, it's one of our best ever.
One thing to note real quick too is that the Frappuccino Best Friends Forever and that offer was going on at almost the exact same time as this Indivisible promotion.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was astounding for me, being a little bit new to Starbucks at that point, was you can do both of those things together at the very same time, and it felt completely authentic and normal for a brand to do that. And I don't think a lot of people can get away with that.
One of the top ideas on our My Starbucks Idea platform is always bring back the quotations on cups. We used to have just these great poignant quotations from luminaries on the Starbucks cup, and we haven't been able to do that. You'd be surprised, as I was, like how complicated it is to change the cups, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. It takes forever. We're hearing our customers and finding a new way to try to deliver that same sort of idea on Pinterest. So the initiative on the cups is called The Way I See It. We gave a nod to that with the name of this board, and started to connect this sort of like typographically rendered sweet sentiment to the quotes people liked on our cups, and bring that thing back in a new way. It's been really a lot of fun. Here's another of my all-time favorite posts for us. Again, this is in a previous year, looking to capture energy around the red cup. We've got a beautiful sentiment on the cup. And in social, we've taken that a step further and taken a little bit of a stand and a little bit of a position and issued just a little bit of a challenge in a way that stays really positive. And it works because no matter how long ago it was that you talked to your best friend, it was probably a little too long. And so it's a call to reconnect with what matters most in a way that we find is really welcome from us as a brand.
So that's campaigns, content. The third way we connect is conversation.
So this is where the rubber really meets the road for community managers, is in the day-to-day way they interact with people on behalf of our brand. And this is why we feel so strongly about the idea that community management and creative should be really, really tightly synced, because these conversations matter a lot. The trick is to scale them, right? Because you can have an army of community managers with a fan base of tens of millions, and still have no way to even come close to connecting with people at the kind of scale that you would need to be really truly personal. So instead, we look at where are the opportunities to do high visibility conversations and to do that personal connection, not necessarily with everyone, but in ways that lots and lots of people can see it. Because in social media, it's out there in public, and so it's a chance to raise visibility of conversations. So here's an example. Raise your hand if you know who Demi Lovato is. God. I still don't know exactly who Demi Lovato is. everyone else apparently does. Apparently she's famous. She tweeted something about, what did she say? She said, you know you've made it when they get your name at Starbucks. Still hasn't happened yet. Great opportunity for us, right, to kind of engage her. And so we made this little cup, you know, that's got the Hollywood star and her name on it, spelled correctly, and tweeted, including some of her song lyrics, back to her. This is our most retweeted tweet of all time. I don't remember, somebody remember the number? 17,000. A lot, right? You know, so clearly this gesture tickled people's fancy, and we got a lot of response.
You're probably sitting next to someone that works at Starbucks. I just want you to know.
So here's an example of addressing a customer complaint. So we had an unhappy customer voicing her concerns on Twitter, and one of our community managers, looking at her profile on Twitter, noticed that she's into haiku, and so gave her a response in haiku, which is this great personal gesture, like a tiny bit of a risk, right? That could go really astray if you've got somebody who's truly upset. In this case, it worked great through like both good enough execution. It's not the best haiku ever written. Doesn't need to be and can't be when you're doing this work in real time. But what it does is it threads the needle of how to sensitively interact with people in ways that are going to feel connected and feel eyes open to them. So great community management work. Chad Ochocinco, I do know who he is. He's an NFL football player or something. Lost his wallet and then recovered it only to discover that his Starbucks Gold card was missing from it. And, you know, and so
Terrible, right?
He did this video, and it's hilarious, all about how angry and crushed and emotionally distraught he is that his Starbucks Gold card is gone, and demanding its safe return. He's actually a really talented, funny guy. If the football thing doesn't work out, I think he could be a good community manager. And so we jumped on the response and engaged him and just got some conversation going there. So again, a case of looking at where the high visibility moments where we can participate in a way that's authentic for us. And Pinterest has turned out to be a great conversational venue for us as well. We weren't expecting that because Pinterest isn't architected in the same way Facebook and Twitter are, as really conversation driven. It's much more image driven. But we found that in this venue where we're doing curation rather than posting our own content, there's this new kind of conversation we can have with customers that we couldn't have before. And it's working really, really well.
So campaigns, content, conversation, those are the three main ways that we connect at scale. But we also have a responsibility, as we talked about with the Indivisible campaign, to deliver experiences that inspire and nurture the human spirit back to our brand promise, our mission. So we also have a responsibility to use our scale for good. Without question, at Starbucks, there's as much passion for a program like Create Jobs for USA, if not more, than there is for a Frappuccino campaign or pumpkin spice latte. We do both of those things because we have to, because that's the role of our brand in society. We're going to wrap up here, but basically, I think we would be remiss if we didn't thank our amazing teams, many of whom are here. We've got planners, digital creatives, and a great team that works at Starbucks that brings this all to life for us every day. And
world-class talent, amazing people.
And you can cheer. We're looking to grow. We want everyone to know that the Starbucks is going to continue to grow in this area. We're looking for a digital talent that crosses all of the disciplines that we talked about before. So we invite you to connect with us. if you're interested.
Thanks.
Jack.
Happy to take questions. Luis?
Well, I was going to ask, you know, it's tough sometimes you do some of your best work with those great pictures and great posts, but social is so fleeting. You know, those things just go away in a day or two. What are you looking to do in a more evergreen sense for your best stuff, or for more permanent message?
So I think philosophically, it's a great question. And philosophically, what we're trying to do is to, you know, we just talked a lot about these moments of connection and creating these fleeting instances where somebody's day just gets elevated in a really small way. We're not about life transformation, right? In the way brands like Nike are, for example. You know, we're about taking something absolutely every day and with minimum effort in a small way, elevating it. And having said that, we're also, you know, as we do that, looking to be really deliberate about how we invest equity in long-term relationships and, you know, start to accumulate momentum over time through those tiny connections that then give us a stronger and stronger base for us to, you know, then mobilize and activate when we do have a big program like a Jobs for USA. It's a great moment for us.
The only thing I would add is that when we think about campaigns, content, conversation, they're not independent of each other, right? The campaigns are building on the content strategy, and the conversation is supporting both of those. So it's an ecosystem. Sorry for using that word, but that's really what it is.
You said you weren't going to say ecosystem.
Sorry.
All right.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for sharing your insights today. From what you showed, it sounds like you've become a media platform as well. So I was wondering if you thought about other ways to monetize that platform, and if yes, how?
You want to take that? No. Okay. So that's obviously a hard question to answer, and we've done a lot of the hard math on the value to the business of the kinds of connections we create and the types of conversations that are generated around our brand. And obviously there's a lot of stuff that can't be shared at a conference in that, but what I'll say about it is that we know that positive conversations around our brand create business value for us. And I think maybe the interesting point within that is that we know that negative conversations about our brand have a disproportionately bad impact on our business compared to the positive impact of good conversations, right? So what it says to us is that moments like the one where, you know, we showed where we turned a detractor into an advocate with the haiku, those are really, really key moments for us, and so we're looking for every opportunity to do that.
Good question, though, on that. How do you, with that much engagement, how do you actually, for lack of a better term, triage the community and escalate certain things in real time? That seems to me to be, from a data standpoint, that's huge. From a human being standpoint, that's huge. The number of people that have to be monitored. How do you guys?
Yeah, good question. So we work with a third-party moderation service that reads everything posted to our channels, at regular intervals every day. And so yeah, there's a big human effort there and a lot of human judgment that goes into assessing the level of severity of an issue that's coming up. And we're learning all the time about when something starts to trend. How do you know when it's important enough to start to call in public affairs, for example? So we work with a third party who does a lot of the hand work on that. We're doing a lot of the listening work within our digital marketing team to have our own fingers on the pulse of those conversations and start to get really smart and coordinated about how we manage our responses. We also have really close relationships with our colleagues in public affairs and in customer care. And so we've got systems to manage escalation of issues and to assign things to people and chart the response and report on that and so on. So it's a big machine and it's pretty sophisticated, but it's not probably what you wouldn't expect. It's probably exactly what you would think.
Is most of your community interested in engaging with you about the coffee product, or do you get a lot of conversation around the things you're actually selling in the stores? Music and...
Oh, I was like, you mean coffee? Yeah. Yeah, so that varies a lot. there's a lot of strong theme. There are people in the room who can answer this better than me probably, but there are a lot of strong themes around like just loving the coffee and like wanting that, you know, quality moment of elevation of like, I've got this delicious beverage. People do this gesture to talk about their coffee. You know, it's this personal thing that belongs to me. You know, people don't talk as much about the CDs. Not as many people care about music. I think one of our challenges as we talk about how to connect at scale is how do we find those people who do care deeply about music and engage them in the right ways?
I would say the other thing that people talk a lot about is Starbucks, like as a brand, as the store, the place that they experience the brand most closely. So they care about the beverages, they care about that a lot, but they also care about their connections that they're making with their community, with the barista. We see that all the time. So there's a brand halo to the product. Well, I think that goes back to the question I didn't want to answer before about partnerships, right? Partnerships that we make have to be mutually beneficial, right? We know that we have a significant value to bring to any relationship, and we offer that value to others that when it makes sense for both parties.
Yeah, so I mean, the way we work with partners reflects the same way we try to treat our customers. And that's one of the deepest beliefs in the Starbucks brand is that we don't do business and make money in order to also be a good you know, force in society. Like we as a business believe that doing those things together is the right way to do it. You know, and so our partnerships reflect that same kind of mentality. We work really closely with a small handful of like-minded businesses.
Right. We truly care who the artists are that show up in that CD rack. We truly care that it's Square that we partner with to do mobile payment, other things like that.
Yeah, thanks guys. Going back to the third-party moderation in the example that you showed with the haiku, how did they make that reply on their own? Did they consult with you? Do you give them that training? Like,
no, we do that work in-house. And so the moderation that we use third parties for, they're strictly monitoring, right? They're reading stuff and escalating it to us. And they've got, you know, exactly the matrix you imagine for assessing, you know, the severity of an issue and having the right escalation path defined. But all the like interaction that happens with customers on behalf of the brand happens in-house.
When you're talking about that content, I mean, obviously you guys have a ton of content that goes out through all of your social media channels every day. How much of that is actually more on an editorial calendar, and how do you balance that mix of real-time versus what's already planned?
Great question. You sound like somebody who knows about this. So we look at that a couple of different ways. And you know, so when we're developing content in support of a major program or initiative, that's pretty thoughtfully planned out, usually a couple of weeks ahead of time. On a real-time basis, we rely on the taste and talent and judgment of our community managers, who are great at it. They're fantastic. And so there's an element of like having the right people to do that really effectively. And then there's an element of like, you've got a multi-channel coordinated program, you need to plan really thoughtfully. We also have sort of a medium step of planning thematically, where we look at, you know, over the course of an 8-week span, what are the stories that we want to tell? How are those stories going to unfold across all our channels? And, you know, in a like sort of high level way, how do we chart their course over time? And so instead of saying we're going to write this post to this place at this time, we'll say we're going to be about this message during these 3 days.
Which of the social channels do you currently feel are most impactful, and going forward, which ones do you think it will be?
Okay. Well, I think there's no question today that Facebook is the most important social platform for a brand like us. The numbers are so much higher. The amount of time people are spending is so much greater. You know, and we all know that Pinterest and Tumblr are these two emerging tools, platforms that we're seeing really fast growth in. We're looking at that as like sort of the difference between places we want to experiment and look at like how can we engage the music lovers among our 53 million constituents on Facebook in a way that's sustained and meaningful for them, where we can establish our common ground with them in a way that matters without having to talk that way to everybody else. So I think, you know, for us today, And for the foreseeable future, Facebook is the biggest and most important platform. Over the coming year, you'll see us in new places as new platforms start to emerge. So I don't have a better answer than that.
I think another important point is that our strategy about how we engage and the mechanisms that we put in place to do that are going to apply to any platform. If we do the same things in Facebook that we would do in other platforms as well, interest targeting and other kinds of ways that will get more relevant to customers, we're going to apply that as new platforms come online.
Let me ask a hard one for Dan.
Any advice for like larger brands such as yourselves who are not maybe as
Lucky?
Well, or good at what you do, and I think are looking to build that kind of engagement with their customers, but don't necessarily have the buy-in yet and senior leadership to build out the tools and the third-party management that you guys have. Any advice for those types of companies about how to maybe, maybe from the bottom up, from a PR or social standpoint, build that buy-in?
Yeah, I think, what's the ROI of social media, right? Does anybody know? No? Okay. The example that Ryan gave before, the haiku example, the ability for us for any brand to protect your reputation in social media is as important, if not more important, than it is as compared to the risk that you're taking by engaging, right? So I think holding up examples of how you can be a part of the conversation about your brand and guide it and be a part, shepherd of that conversation, as opposed to, staying out of it and letting others manage the conversation for you. I've seen that be very, very powerful to the most senior level executive.
You can put some numbers behind that to say, here's a conversation that's happening, and we're not there. We're not responding, and there are X thousand of those occurring every day. Compare that to the kind of numbers we're putting out in our customer care center, and do the math on that. You can also try to reframe, maybe it's gimmicky, but reframe ROI as risk of inaction, and say, what's the opportunity cost, of not engaging in social media.
Super tactically, find an advocate at a senior level. They're everywhere, right? I mean, you got to find that, and I've had experience in the past doing that and saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to push this button. We're going to tweet. Are you ready?
Find a friendly executive and take them out for beer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll take further questions, up front in person if you like. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the time and attention and overcoming of all the obstacles we had to overcome to get here. So thank you.
Yeah, stay safe.